Seriously? Where'd you even get that idea?
I think you might be overthinking this, Sans.
I don't know. That is ridiculous. Who else could they possibly be?
I don't know.
You're being very mean. For a monster. I haven't done anything.
I know what you would do, given the opportunity.
You really don't know anything about me.
I know enough that I want the real Frisk back.
Interesting. Everyone else thinks I'm the real Frisk, except for you. Sounds like this is just your problem.
Oh, I'm certain it'll be their problem soon enough. You can't hide this forever.
Well, I guess that depends, doesn't it?
On
if they can catch on in time.
You guys really think Gaster is around here?
Maybe he's here to talk to the king and queen.
I don't know, but I'm still thinking we should check every room. Not here either.
Woof! Whoa! You know we've got enough soul power to go through the barrier now, don't we?
We could cross the barrier, get 6 more human souls, and free all the monsters right now, before the core accident even happens.
But if we did that...
Oh, howdy, little one. Are you doing all right? I know it's hard seeing the light out there. I'm sure you feel that freedom is far away. But don't you worry. Very soon now we'll all be free of this place. You'll be out there, playing in the sunshine before you even know it. It's been a long time coming, I know. But once monsters are on the surface again, all the sacrifices will have been worth it. Yes, and I can't wait for you to grow up in that sunshine, little prince. Oh, you want to make a new friend? Well, here we go.
Frisk, we have to go.
But we can't just...
No, we have to go.
For a second, I thought you were going to take us through the barrier.
I almost did, but I can't.
Why can't you?
We'd free everyone right now, but what if that changed everything? I'd never meet Chara at all. You have to understand, I was very lonely growing up. Sure, Mom and Dad doted on me all the time, but I found it very hard to make friends. I didn't even go to the same school as the other kids. I barely talked to them. Maybe they felt intimidated because I was the prince, or I was just emotional a lot. Things being the way they were for me, it made me angry, I think. But then there was Chara. So, despite knowing everything I do now, even though I know that Chara wasn't a nice person, that sometimes we brought out the worst in each other. Even though everything went so horribly wrong, even after losing my soul, and even after all those resets. Despite all that, those days I spent growing up with Chara were my happiest memories. When I couldn't feel happiness, they were the only things left. I can't bear the thought of giving those up. Even to fix it all now, I can't stand the idea of those days never existing. Frisk, and Greatest Dog, too. I owe you an apology.
What for?
You were right. I still can't feel bad about it, or sorry that I hurt people, but it is my fault we're stuck like this. It was my idea, and I pushed you all into it. I guess I just got caught up in my own memories, talking of a secret and dangerous plan to help monsters, to really save the day. It was exciting to me. It reminded me of those days with Chara, where we'd come up with all those ideas and how we were going to free all the monsters, and we'd play out how smart and brave we were, until the day we stopped doing it for pretend. I was too caught up in the goal to notice you were uncomfortable with the process for it, Frisk. So I pushed you into acting when you didn't want to, and just messed everything up as a result. I can't ever care that you got hurt, but I still should have at least recognized this from before. I guess I did always follow Char's lead that way. So I know that my apology is worthless because I can't be sorry, but I'll say it anyway. I'm sorry.
Flowey, that apology isn't worthless. It really does mean a lot. And we've still gotten this far with you.
Sheesh. I really don't deserve you, Frisk.
We've all made big mistakes. But if we're going to get through this, we're going to really have to work together. No more fighting, or belittling, or getting off track. Okay, Flowey?
Yeah. I think we can solve this together.
Yeah, we totally can. There's always a team in Team Dog, and that's what we are.
Only one in existence, I'd say.
Then let's find Gaster and get home.
I'm ready.
Let's go!
Toriel, you seen Papyrus this morning? He wasn't at breakfast. Hey, anyone here? Papyrus? Papyrus? Come on, are you here? Papyrus? Papyrus!
Sons, what on earth are you yelling about?
What are you doing in Toriel's shower?
I'm taking a shower, you numbskull. Our shower is busted and the plumber doesn't come until tomorrow. Which you'd know if you bothered to read the note I left you on the door.
Oh.
Something the matter?
Oh, you're just a real barrel of laughs, aren't you, bucko?
I don't know. I think you freaking out over some marker scribbles is pretty funny.
Don't think I'm not watching you. You try anything and I'll—
What? You'll kill me? It'd be easy for you. He'd be smart, too. I can't reset on my own. You'd never have to worry about a reset. Ever again. But I don't think you will. There's some part of you that's still hoping. Hoping that Frisk will come back. And if you took the initiative now, well, I doubt Frisk would enjoy coming back to a corpse. Just imagine trying to explain your actions to Toriel. Imagine the look on Papyrus's face.
You know, I'm actually not the sort to jump at violent responses. So let's just talk. What is it you want?
You think if you just do what I want most, I'll leave Frisk alone? It's pointless to ask. No one can give me what I want.
How about you just indulge me? You know, for funsies.
I think it's more fun to keep you guessing. From what I've gathered out of Frisk, you're not one to care a lot. So it's much more interesting now that you feel like you've got something to lose. Isn't it nice to maybe care again?
If no one can do anything for you, then I fail to see the point of you hanging around here now, fooling all these people that love Frisk.
You don't need to see any point. Maybe I want my reasons to stay mine. Or maybe all I want is a little use out of Frisk's body while it's empty. Nice and roomy in here. So maybe you can just indulge me. You know, for funsies.
Several quick shortcuts later, and the trio had exhausted all other possibilities as to where Gaster was. There was only one other place that he could possibly be, and that was where they were headed now, to the side entrance to the core. While this place was a safe distance away from the apartment building that would eventually become Mettaton's resort, it was still bustling with people and activity. A large metal scaffold had been constructed leading up to the core's power base, and attached to it in an array of haphazard metal, wires, and pipes sat the time machine. Frisk recognized at least the shape of it from the curtained-off remains of San's personal lab. Here, however, it seemed much more of a complete piece. A team of scientists were running around, checking specs and readings, securing both the machine and the scaffolding to the enormous generator. The searing heat of the lava below them only made the scene more urgent and uncomfortable. Greatest Dog was the first to speak up about their shared worry.
Once they turn on the machine, it'll break up space and time and hurt the whole underground. Could we even stop it?
On this, Frisk wasn't sure. They knew they had to save Gaster, but was it possible for them to do that without stopping the core implosion completely?
I think we should just concentrate on finding Gaster and making sure he's nowhere nearby when the core implodes.
So we're just gonna let the implosion happen?
Flowey asked.
We don't know what'll happen to all of us if the underground loses the ability for people to save and reset. The important thing is saving Gaster, so that's what we'll do.
This was at least something they could tenuously agree on. They started forward across the scaffolding, making sure to avoid the eyes of any scientist that might spot them and decide they weren't supposed to be here. They did see Papyrus, but as he was hammering away at a piece of scaffolding while trying to encourage it to
Be properly attached already!
They decided it better not to bother him. By the time they got to the machine itself, it was clear. There was no sign of Gaster. There was one skeleton they still recognized, though, and that was Sans, who was reading over a hefty pile of blueprints. He noticed them enter the machine's effect zone and stepped forward, smiling but still looking a bit worried.
Hey, pup, I thought you might show up here at some point. You need to stay back. This place is dangerous.
They listened and took a step back onto the scaffolding itself, but still looked pretty anxious. It felt like everything was happening around them, and they were powerless to stop it. All that worry read on their face pretty clearly, and Sans picked up on it. Just for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, anxious, pup? I'm a little nervous myself. I know this is a risky venture, but it'll be worth it once we're back in time and can make peace with the humans.
He tried to offer them a genuine smile.
And hey, you said yourself things would turn out all right.
This didn't seem to make them feel any better. They just gave Sans a worried look and kept pacing back and forth in front of him. Not being able to communicate this easily was beyond frustrating.
I mean, I've got all my notes and then some here to make sure we don't miss a thing.
Sans held up something from his pile of papers and squinted at it, suddenly looking confused.
Well, so much info here. I don't even remember what half of it was for.
All of a sudden, a faint buzzing sound came from what seemed like behind Sans. He definitely recognized the sound, though, and placed the stack of blueprints on the ground before pulling his cell phone out of his lab coat pocket.
Oh, give me just a sec here, pup.
While Sans busied himself with the phone, the dog took the opportunity to look at some of the blueprints and notes that Sans had dropped in front of them. On top of what appeared to be a main blueprint for the time machine was a handwritten log report, except it seemed to be written in weird symbols, mostly made up of hand signals.
What does this mean?
Frisk asked, glancing over the notes frantically.
Here, let me.
The dog shook out his head and Flowey resumed control, peering closer at the notes.
I can read this font.
You can?
Frisk sounded surprised at this news.
I can read any font. I had a lot of resets to mess with, and it's a lot of time to read every book in the underground. I taught myself to read every font there is.
Flowey scanned over the log note and his eyes widened. The symbols suddenly became all too familiar to them.
Dark, darker, yet darker. The darkness keeps growing. The shadows cutting deeper. Photon readings negative. This next experiment seems very, very interesting. What do you two think?
That's what Reaper Bird said when we talked to all the amalgams.
Frisk exclaimed.
It's the bad memories!
Greatest Dog actually seemed more anxious than ever.
The ones in the shadows, the corners, they read this.
But what does it mean?
Flowey asked, frustrated. The three were so busy musing over the log entry that they didn't even notice Sans finished his phone call and turned back towards them. He looked more annoyed than anything.
Keep getting calls from this unknown number and then it's nothing but static.
He pocketed his cell phone and gave them a look of surprise.
Jeez Louise. Don't tell me you can read scientific font, too.
They gave him back the one tail wag as a means of saying yes, as with their previous game of 20 questions. They also whined, desperate for some explanation. A thought occurred to Sans, and he seemed to brighten up.
Say, pup, if you can read, can you also write?
The dog's ears perked up, and they wagged their tail furiously. Yes, finally! This could be their chance to get something across to Sans. Sans picked up on the hint and pulled a pen out of his other coat pocket. He handed it down to them so that they could grab it in their mouth and flipped over one of the log pages to a blank space.
Then here you go. How about you get down what's so important that you've been chasing me all over Hauntland for it?
Despite having limbs and paws now, it turned out that actually writing was even more difficult without fingers. Flowey, still in control, suddenly found that practice he'd been putting in writing with his mouth to good use. And even then, it still took a lot more time and effort than any of the three would have liked. But after a lot of careful scratching at the paper, they got down what they figured was the most brief and important message possible. Stop Gaster. They dropped the pen and stared up at Sans expectantly. The skeleton just looked down at the writing in confusion. Almost disappointment.
I don't get what you mean, pup. What's Gaster?
The dog's jaw fell open in shock. Out of all possible responses they could have gotten from Sans, this was the one they expected the least.
What does he mean? How does he not know who Gaster is?
He's the only one who remembered him in the first place.
Does that mean he's not even here at all? Did we fail the mission?
But we're here before the core implosion.
Sans didn't look like he had the time to sit and wait for them to finish an internal debate, as he sighed and scooped up the papers and blueprints off the floor.
Sorry to cut this short, pup, but I can't help you if you don't give me much to work with.
The dog scampered about, trying to think of anything else to say or do, but all they could do was whine.
I know you're worried, pup. But we've come too far on this to delay it now. Maybe once this experiment is done and we're all free, you can come back and we'll have a much longer chat about what you know. Sound good?
Honestly, that didn't sound good at all to them, but what could they even do about it? It seemed like all their plans had been thrown out of whack. They ran back to the time machine and then back to Sans, practically growling with frustration.
You'd better hurry along, pup. We'll be starting up the machine soon, and this whole area won't be safe for you. But you'll know soon enough that it's worked.
What do we do now?
Flowey, still in control, felt beyond frustrated at this.
Let's just go.
With that, the dog took off running back across the scaffolding, not even caring who noticed them along the way. They left Sans behind, suddenly looking a lot less sure of himself. He looked back down at the scrawled message on the back of the log entry, eye sockets furrowed. In his coat pocket, his cell phone buzzed once again.